Hey guys, back at you with another movie review today, and today I am going to be talking about the latest film from A24 and writer-director Sofia Coppola, being Priscilla, starring Cailee Spaeny and Jacob Elordi, and it follows the marriage between Priscilla and Elvis Presley from their courtship all the way to their eventual divorce. Now, that's not a spoiler. But I was looking forward to this movie. Heard great things coming out of the festival circuits. Heard Cailee Spaeny was really great in this as well. And Sofia Coppola, obviously a very, very well-respected filmmaker for films like Lost in Translation, The Bling Ring, etc., etc. And yeah, I was just excited to see what she was up to next. And this is a very interesting project because last year, obviously, we got Elvis, which I reviewed, and I'm not huge on, especially due to Baz Luhrmann, but this one I was definitely thinking I'd like more, and that is the case. But it's a very, very interesting movie, to say the least, because this relationship was anything but normal. I mean, let's be honest, this shit was weird, and I think it's going to be really, really sensitive talking about this movie, but I beg you all to keep an open mind and follow what I'm saying here. Because, yeah, I mean, there's no getting over the fact that he met her when she was 14 and he was 24. And that was when their courtship essentially began. And look, I mean, I'm a huge Elvis Presley fan. I think he's one of the greats in music, cultural appropriator or not. Nobody did it better than him, in his lane at least. And with that being said, you know, I've always just been such a fan of him as a person in general from what I knew. And so going into this movie, I really wasn't sure what they were going to do with him. I didn't know how much of it was true. And after looking this up, Elvis was a fucking creep. I'm sorry to all you Elvis fans, because look, I'm always going to love his music, but this dude was a piece of shit. And I'm going to take my Elvis picture down off my wall, unfortunately. I still have an Elvis doll, so, you know, whatever. But as much as it sucks to say that, like, you really see just how manipulative, and, because, look, I'll put it this way. I think Elvis started off with the best of intentions. As weird as that sounds, I know. You know, and that's why this is the definition of a complicated situation. Because a lot of times when it comes to celebrities going after, you know, underage children, let's say, you know, you kind of ask, oh, well, why didn't the parents protect them? And you could say in this case, oh, well, that was the day and age. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because I love how this film shows that it's not so black and white. I think that there's a lot of nuance to this relationship, which is something I especially appreciate about this film. And you can see why the parents were so conflicted. I mean, this isn't going to spoil too much, but essentially, you know, he asks her to a party. This guy from the base comes up to her father, you know, asks her permission. They let her go once. And then she sneaks out on her own, and she's already seeing him. And then it gets to a point where it's kind of affecting her own happiness in her school and her personal life, home life, what have you. And so they just kind of want what's best for their daughter, even if it isn't what's best for her. That's why I don't completely think her parents were at fault. There's still, you know, you can still poke holes in what they did and how they handled the situation. But regardless, I think that there's a gray area that you can look into and see why this was such a morally puzzling situation to be in. And of course, I mean, let's just get into the performance first before I get into anything else. Cailee Spaeny as Priscilla Presley is just absolutely amazing. I mean, this girl literally convinces you that she went from 14 to 27 in the span of less than 2 hours. And it's pretty phenomenal work. And just the little things she does to really show that maturity and the blossoming into a woman as this film unfolds. All the, you know, little beams of pride that she has on her face, all the subtle pain and anguish that she is feeling from this essentially mentally deteriorating relationship. and a very manipulative one at that. It's just truly phenomenal. I mean, Best Actress this year is going to be insane. Do I think she could get in? Yes. Do I think she's going to get nominated? Probably not. But I still think, you know, people are going to be talking about her. This is probably an Independent Spirit Award contender. All that stuff. So, then, of course, you have Jacob Elordi as Elvis Presley, and he's pretty great. Obviously, you're not going to top Austin Butler's portrayal, who transforms into the king of rock and roll. But I think what he does here is quite spectacular, even though he didn't know who Elvis was before, I supposedly heard. And look, I mean, he gets the accent down pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't fully click into place for me, but he looks more like Elvis than Austin Butler, and he shows a side to Elvis that wasn't present in the Baz Luhrmann film, and it kind of makes me like the Baz Luhrmann one less, because I know it's complete bullshit.
Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and all the reindeer.
But anyway, I think that this is really a very, yet again, nuanced approach to this character, because while it does really show how horrible he was in a lot of ways, it does have some sympathy for him. Like, he really did love Priscilla. And it's just one of those very bizarre situations, of course with the age gap, but also with the fame that Elvis had. I mean, he's one of the most famous individuals who ever lived. And you see how that also takes a toll on Priscilla, and how she was essentially gated up in Graceland and barely could do anything she wanted. She couldn't get a job. She couldn't really go out with anyone. And it was a very, very damaging life to live when you're closed off from so many people. And also, just some of the things Elvis does to her, intentionally or unintentionally, is just really, really shocking and disturbing. And I think this is a perfect example why you don't date children. I mean, let's be honest and call it for what it is. Because, look, I mean, there's some, you know, younger people who are very, very smart and will make well-informed decisions, but, you know, their brains aren't fully developed, and when there's someone who they really look up to and admire, and they are told to do something that they are doing, it's kind of hard for them to say no to in certain points, especially if they don't know how detrimental this may be to their health or otherwise. And you really see Elvis do so many bizarre, off-kilter, and puzzling things in that Priscilla is implicit in or directly affects her, and it's just unbelievably manipulative too. I really didn't know all this, because I know there were the leaked emails, supposedly real emails from Lisa Marie Presley saying how, oh, this is such, you know, this is you vilifying my father, this is, you know, my mother doesn't understand how this will be taken. But yet again, and no disrespect to the dead, but I'm going to say this, I mean, it's not her story to tell, it's her mother's. And she experienced this, she knew what happened, and she's just telling it like it is. And Sofia Coppola said she was very moved by the book, and she decided to take that approach and put it from book to screen. But, you know, it's just, there's so many things that completely shocked me, what Elvis did, and maybe I shouldn't have been shocked. But I really had to look into it based on, you know, what Lisa Marie supposedly said in those emails, whether they're real or not. I do not know, but yeah, I mean, it's nothing I can really defend. If she put it in writing, I believe her. I mean, I have no reason not to, and I don't think any of us have any other reason not to either. So it's just unfortunate, you know, seeing these historical figures and kind of learning who they truly are. It's a little sad, but look, I'm not completely against knocking down icons and calling them out for terrible things they did and holding them accountable for their actions. And I think that this isn't what this film does. Like, that isn't the entire tension of this film, because it really does show how much they loved each other. And, you know, yet again, it's never as black and white as one may think. And I do appreciate that they brought that to this film, and it really came through in the screenplay. For a good part of it, I thought I was loving this movie. But I think it gets a little bit repetitive. There's many montages that just kind of go on. And yeah, it kind of slows the movie down. I think the courtship is probably the most interesting part of the film when you're getting invested into this dynamic and their relationship. So yeah, I mean, yet again, I appreciate the intention of what this film did, and it achieves a lot. But I think as a narrative, it isn't entirely the most thorough and engaging. I gotta say, I love the soundtrack here, and yet again, like Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, they use some very unconventional music choices. For example, Crimson and Clover, which didn't come out till the 60s, and then there was like, at one point there was a song with like synths running through it, and I was like, well, this isn't as weird as Elvis, because the thing is, it's used to complement the character's emotions in the scene. And the music doesn't really come off as some bombastic excuse to just throw random songs into the period that didn't exist at the time. It really felt like it heightened the emotions of the characters, and I love that about the soundtrack. It's one of the absolute best of the year. You aren't going to find many more better than the one in Priscilla. And yeah, yet again, I think after thinking about it and looking into it more, seeing that all of this was quite real, certainly closer to reality than the Elvis biopic, I really ended up appreciating this movie a lot, and I'm going to give Priscilla 7.5 out of 10, a very, very light one at that. I wish I could have loved it, wish it was one of my favorite movies of the year, but I can't go all the way. But yet again, I loved the perspective that Sofia Coppola brought to this film in telling Priscilla Presley's story, one that I don't think is told enough, obviously, because everyone hears about Elvis, but it's time that Priscilla got a little bit more spotlight and kind of the struggles that she had to go through in this relationship, in this media whirlwind, if you will, of a romance. And yeah, I mean, it's a very, very good film, and I'm glad I saw it. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of Priscilla if you've seen it, down in the comments below. And of course, smash the like button if you like what I'm doing here. Give me your thoughts on Elvis as well in this very complex situation of sorts. Because look, I mean, I'm always going to love his music, but lost a lot of respect for him after watching this. But yeah, be sure to subscribe to the channel, stay on the lookout for more movie reviews coming your way very soon. And until the next video, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.